like, how are they going to show up if we're not live?
Oh, excuse me. Ah. Ding.
Let's see.
I had to go in and get blood drawn today.
Yes.
And the protocols, like I went in super early, so I would like make sure, there wasn't a huge crowd. But they keep everyone basically in a big line outside now, and then just let people in slowly so they can maintain distance. And the protocols were pretty good. Not only that, they took my temperature, but they took my pulse ox too. Of course, lower pulse ox is one of the signs. So they've got, they're figuring stuff out. Like I felt like it was as safe as it possibly could be. So,
right.
Shout out to the Miami North Beach doctor's house plan.
So, gratitude.
Oh yeah, I'm grateful. The data's really good. That's it.
Yeah, well, Corey's asking you, what's the data though? You're going on about the data being good, but you wouldn't spit it out. So
I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Right.
But again, like we were up late into the evening, going back and forth about different potential turnout models and how they apply to a Biden win. Long story short, I mean, Trump's trying to say a huge turnout in Florida is good for him. It's fucking not. So that's just a thing,
right?
And we have to see, if turnout is basically maintained throughout. Like there's models now that are saying that the turnout's going to be about 15% higher than normal, which is a strong Biden win. If everything that we have deduced is correct, and I think that's a pretty high probability. But yeah, we were going like granularly through the Texas House races, and not only that, but the way we picked up 2 or 3 seats in 2016, we picked up 10 seats in 2018. And of course, we're set up to try and pick up 9 and then win the House in Texas, right?
Right.
And the cool thing about that is those races are extremely competitive. They're doing really, really well. They're in like the Harris counties and the Trenton counties and like the stuff that's been kind of trending Democratic for a while. Right? So we've got a really good shot at taking those. We need 9. There's 25 super competitive races going on. There's like 11 to 12 that are like, no, we're probably going to take this. And then 5 or 6 that are toss ups and a few that, we're going to actually have to fight for. Anyway, Casey, I was just blowing you up. I'm extremely grateful for all of our conversations and for all of your support of this show. We were having some video trouble. I don't see.
But nobody's saying anything in the comments now. So I guess we're all right.
Yeah, and so this is the thing. So Corey said it also sounds like Trump thinks he might need to sway just a few electoral votes to win. I think this is important because I think like Trump's got his head shoved up his ass on a good day, right? I saw somebody on Twitter yesterday, and I'm really curious about this now. Like he has to say it's close. Doesn't look close. He has to say it's close because if he doesn't, if you're a 65-year-old Trump supporter still, and you really like his non-existent tax plan, and you're a racist, and you really you think, okay, well, we got to go out to vote for him, but he's down by 8 or 9 in your state, and it hasn't changed, and the news is all bad and always bad, and it's ridiculous, and it's election day, and the lines are going to be huge because he keeps telling all the Republicans to go on.
And people in your own family are starting to publicly challenge you for still supporting this jerk,
right? And you're genuinely concerned about COVID,
right?
Do you go vote?
Do you think any of his diehard supporters really are?
What if it's 5%?
Yeah.
I mean, let's put it this way. At the rallies now, about 35% of them wear masks, even though they're getting jeered the whole time.
Yeah.
Right. So what if those, again, not the rally goers, but so it sort of proves the potential for the exception being a lot bigger than 5%. Right. And so like, he's going to lose anyway. Why bother? Right. So like, I was sort of toying around, like if we had a massive national reach at this point, now that Democrats have been voting in droves, we're going to say, hey, you absolutely have to go vote. You absolutely have to do this because we can't leave anything on the table. Blah, 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 blah. Right. It's got anxiety's rampant. But to our conservative friends, like, you're kind of fucked.
Right.
There's not much point. You should probably just lay down because we're going to run over you with a tractor. And why chance getting COVID in a race where your president is doing literally everything he possibly can to not only rat fuck the country, but rat fuck his electoral chances and rat fuck you at the same time. Why?
Yeah.
Just why bother going out? Just stay home.
Stay home.
I hear there's like a bunch of NCIS that you can just watch on TV whenever you want. I don't know why I went to NCIS. Old people show, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, if turnout in Texas approaches 11 to 12 million, it's likely Biden will win and Texas will flip their lower house just in time for 2020 census redistricting maps being drawn. 11 to 12 million, like, didn't they have, I think it was like 8.5 million last time. Like, if it's 11 to 12 million, isn't that like a blowout probably for Texas?
I still, it's hard to say. Like, and this is the thing that gives people I talk to a lot anxiety. But I'm seeing some smaller, granular polling from locales that's showing that, the first thing is, all the Republicans are going to turn out on election day. Well, all the Republicans are not going to vote for Trump. That's a fact, Jack. I mean, we know that 10% of them were not excited about Trump, but I think the number is probably closer to 20% of Republicans are not excited about Trump. And whether they vote for Biden or stay home or write in Mickey Mouse, when you're leading that whole thing about third-party votes, are a wasted vote. Corey, we live in a county that went for Trump by what, 20 points in 2016. So just closing that gap in Pasco County is good news because it that counts towards the overall state total. We may live in a ruby red county in that regard. I think we're less ruby red than we were in 16, but it's still working towards what we want to see. Now, one of the things that I saw yesterday that was extraordinary, and I don't know, we're kind of wonky about things like this. And Rob, I want to get to your question in a minute, but what do you think is the number one county in Florida for Democratic voter turnout, percentage wise, not population wise?
Just like the percentage of Democratic registered voters turnout.
Who voted? Who are voting in this election?
I remember you told me, but I forget what it was. Wasn't it the most conservative place in Florida, basically?
Maybe not but
among.
Yeah, it's Collier County, which is Naples Marco Island. This is like the western edge of the Everglades. Their Democratic turnout in that county is up by like 127%. It's ridiculous. And also Martin County, which is just north of you on the East Coast, and Sumter County, which borders. That's Klan country. Sumter County is it's Gainesville, yes, part of that little region, but Sumter County notoriously is a Dixiecrat, conservative, gun-owning, red meat-eating kind of place. So in red counties in Florida, Democrats are showing up in numbers they never have before. That's fascinating to me, right? And funny enough, Dade County is lagging behind. Pinellas County lagging behind. Democratic counties or counties that have been purple are not as motivated. And I think maybe that's because we live in places where we see the daily results of Trumpism. We see my whole street is just nothing but Trump flags. People have bought $20, $30 flags to hang in their front yards in my neighborhood. A lot of them, not just one, a lot of them. And I think because we're seeing it more, it's why those counties are turning out. So what do you got there?
I do want to get to Rob's question as well, because I think it's important if it's close. Fucking Mitt Romney is going to be speaking on the Senate floor in support of Judge Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation to the Supreme Court. I want everyone to remember this in their blood and in their bones when we start talking about expanding the court. Do not say packing the court. I learned this one too. We're going to expand the court, which is perfectly, completely constitutional.
And, court packing is something that's been going on for this last 4 years.
Right.
And we didn't start.
Anyway,
this.
So Mitt Romney can go fuck himself. Anyway, So Rob's question: can someone explain the thing about Trump installing his own electorates? I'm probably using the wrong word here, but I keep seeing people talk about him stealing the election by doing this. So I would highly recommend listening to the last Radio Lab, where they do kind of
say that more slowly. To the last Radio Lab. That is
Radio Lab. It is a podcast. We're having
That was good.
We're having professional radio voices now. Thank you for tuning in to the hashtag coffee. This is hurting my brain.
Yeah. So
I don't know how you did this.
so lay it out in simple terms if we can.
Simple terms. So you know how we do voting, and then the popular vote in each state redounds to these electors in an electoral college who actually do the voting. Now, the vote is fucking irrelevant. The state houses in each state can just pick electors if they want to. Number one, they can just say, we're going to pick these people who are going to vote for Trump. And then the people who vote in that state could be like, no! And then the legislatures can go like, eh. This is the technical terms, right? So that's real. And Radiolab does this War Games thing where, they ask a question, what happens if Trump just doesn't leave? And this is part of, one of the things that they kind of deduce. And so one of the things you'll see if it's close and, if they really, which they will, right? They'll lean into this. Oh my God, it was a fraud. The whole election was faulty because of COVID and it was just so bad. And, nobody got their ballots, yada, 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 yada. So we will just, as a legislature in, say, Pennsylvania, elect these, people to be electors, and they'll just do their best, right? That's possible. That's a thing that can happen. Right now, there's also a thing called the faithless elector, which I thought, people would be roundly put in prison for this, but you just get a tiny little fine and a slap on the wrist and you're fine. And there were 7 last cycle, which, what the fuck? Where people get, sent in as an elector, say for Hawaii, and then they write in Bernie's name, for example, which happened last time. 2 people wrote in John Kasich's name. 2 people wrote in Colin Powell's name. And of course they were fined, but they did it anyway. And of course that didn't affect the results, but that these things happened. And so if you had a concerted effort from states who again appoint these electors to be whoever they want, you could have a serious problem that way. And there's also something I didn't really understand quite as much, but where you could basically have a set of electors that are doing the voters bidding, and you could also have a secondary set of electors that are just appointed by legislatures and by Trump that are trying to just keep him in power, which could also be a problem. So yeah, don't let this be close.
Well, that's the only way we have to combat this idea, and it is an idea, is by overwhelming turnout, an overwhelming victory for Joe Biden. Their state legislators have to look ridiculous for arguing that it's not a legitimate election, and the only way that happens.
At the same time, though, as ridiculous as Mitt Romney going on the floor of this, you know what I mean? Like, oh no, they're going to be embarrassed. That's dead now, right? So the whole idea that they won't do that for any reason,
right? And this is one of those things.
It isn't close.
This is one of those things that it's always worked this way. So we thought it was policy or law. It's not. The way state legislators pick the electors is up to them. It's just always that they've done it via popular elections. That's why electoral college reform is something we need to take seriously. Okay, and I want to talk to Sue and Corey about the ballots. Pasco County, every county starts counting ballots on a different day. In Florida, state the SOEs have the ability to pick their own date for when they start counting. We are a state that allows them to count before Election Day. In Pasco County, they start counting ballots today. So the reason your ballot isn't showing up as tabulated is because it hasn't been. Okay. Now, in past elections, nobody got a notification their ballot had been counted until close of polls on Election Day. Like dump all that data down as the polls close on November 3rd or whatever the election day is. So it is not a problem that your ballot doesn't show that it's been tabulated. The other thing is, and I learned this in 2018 when I was an observer in Hernando County and for the Democratic Party in the recount process, the process is called ballot curing. If something wrong is found with your ballot, you'll get an email notification or a phone call, often from your own party, from someone that's saying, hey, you need to get down to the supervisor of elections office. Your ballot signature doesn't match. You need to fix it. That's called ballot curing. And that's a process that goes on for days after the election. Okay. So one of the reasons we want you to vote early is so that there's some of those ballots already in hand. I saw Pasco County the other day when I looked at 39 provisional ballots. These are people that they got to the poll and for some reason they couldn't get an actual ballot because there was something wrong with their identification or it didn't match or whatever. We want the minimum possible number of those. So going to vote early means that those problems are identified early and handled early. So that's just a little bit of the on the ground look at how that happens. And believe me when I tell you, the local Democratic Party has poll watchers out now, has observers and ballot observers in hand and ready to go. If there's a recount process, I got a call 11 o'clock on election night in 2018 from somebody from my organization saying, hey, we've just combined our staff with the Democratic Party of Florida staff, and we need people to go and participate in recount procedures. Can you do that? And I thought they were going to send me to somewhere cool like Hardee County where my ancestors are from, but I ended up only having to go to Brooksville, right? But my point is there's a process in place for curing ballots and making sure that every vote is counted. Now, whether we end up in a situation like 2000 where the Supreme Court eventually decides, all right, stop counting, which is why we had President Bush instead of President Gore. We can't change that today. We can't change that before November 3rd, but we can make goddamn sure that after November 3rd, we almost don't go back to sleep for 2 years and hope that it all fixes itself, because it fucking won't. It hasn't yet, and it won't. So, we're not, Lori's saying, are we in this much disarray? Not really, but they're going to make it appear that we are. That's the whole Trump strategy now, is to cast doubt on the election outcome. That's why they're talking about fake stories about ballots being found in a stream bed in Pennsylvania. That's why they're doing all of that. So when they make the argument that the election is not legitimate and there were massive voter fraud problems, state legislators then have cover to say, "Oh, we should just pick the electors because the process isn't working." But
if we win Texas, they can go fuck themselves. Like that, or anything like that, right? Like there's a possibility. And so this is the thing, right? Like that, I do think that it needs to be close for that to even be a possibility. Right. And I don't mean close in one state. I mean, he has to have, and this goes back to the post I made, was it yesterday, the day before, whatever it was. Look at all the, we can look at the 270 to win again, right? Every single one of the brown states, the swing states, every swing state, Trump needs to win every single one of them, right? Every lean Republican state, like Texas, where it is now drawn even, he needs to win. And like 5 states that are currently lean, like +8 Biden, Trump has to win. He's fucked, right? So again, like if the polling is as bad this year as it is last year, then he's slightly less fucked, but still fucked. And honestly, I don't think the polling's going to come off that badly this time.
It might be wrong the other way.
There is a significant, I smell it being wrong the other way. Now, Take that with a giant block of salt, because what the fuck do I know, right? But it doesn't feel the same way, right? Before, we missed the bubbling weirdness, and they squeaked a tiny little win by 3 states with a few tens of thousands of votes. This is not that. And so, they're going to, they're going to try and do this thing, Greg, and in the same way they try to do the Hunter Biden thing. And it's going to have exactly the same effect. 35% of the country is going to be like, oh my God, you're so right. Ah! And the rest will be like, shut the fuck up. Now, as far as expanding the court, I want to really, because Sue brings up an interesting point. And people bring this up, smart people bring this up a lot. And yes, that was a compliment. So it seems like there should be a better answer than expanding the court. Won't they just do that when they get in? Here's what I think. A, we have already lost. We don't have a choice. If we don't do it, every single thing, healthcare, environment, voting rights, literally everything we try and do will fail, right? It getting Biden in, the only thing that we'll get from that is that, we're not going to have evil stuff happen as a direct result of Biden being president, right? If we want to do anything affirmatively, we will be denied by the Supreme Court every single time. We have no choice but to do that, right? So we have to add 2. Hell, add 4. I don't give a shit. Let's do it, right? And I think we should be completely and totally vicious about it.
I think Susie Mac's idea was add 9. Well, a summer and winter session.
She since sort of a step back from that a little bit.
Okay.
That part might not be constitutional to have different seasons, but whatever. Okay, don't threaten me with a good time, right?
Right.
But I think the way that I'm thinking about it is, if we have a Supreme Court that will back us up, we make Puerto Rico and DC states because they should be anyway, because democracy, right? And without, if we don't have the Supreme Court, that will never happen, right? Like they will, as originalists, they'll find a way to be racist pieces of shit because, they're originalists. That's what they were. So that'll just make sense. Anything we do around healthcare is going to get stricken down. And literally anything we want to do around anything is just going to get destroyed. So we don't have a choice. But I think we can fix it, especially with voting rights, and states and redistricting and different things like that. If we have the Supreme Court's backing, then we can set it up so the Republicans never fucking win again. Right. And I mean that. Like, we can set it up so that for 50 years, they're basically relegated to backwaters, which is exactly where they should be, because that's where they live.
So I got a set of tweets here quoting Angus King. He's the independent from Maine senator this morning on the floor. I don't want to pack the court. I don't want to change that number. I don't want to have to do that. But if all of this rule breaking is taking place, what does the majority expect? What do they expect? They expect that they are going to be able to break the rules with impunity. And when the shoe maybe is on the other foot, nothing is going to happen. The people over here are going to say, oh, well, I can't change the rules. One of the things that's amazing to me since I've come here is how people feel that they can do things to one another and never have any consequences, never have it come back on them. The shoe may be on the other foot. We don't know what's going to happen next week. So they're aware in the Senate of what could happen here. They're aware that maybe they think we won't act like that because we never have. And frankly, that's a good calculation if you consider history.
Well, and this is a tiny little bit, this is like a tiny little race or whatever, and it's probably like miles back in mine and Casey's conversation yesterday. But she basically, I'm gonna take you vamp for a second. I'm gonna try and find this, because there's one Democrat in a race who just like takes the gloves off, puts the fucking brass knuckles on, and just started gunning. Anyway, please hold.
Yeah. So while Corey's looking for that, Julie, hi, Julie. Good morning. I'm so tired of my ACA, everything else being attacked by this moron. I had to go on Saturday. Wasn't feeling normal. Went to the emergency clinic. The doctor was very informative. Said even a sore throat has come up as a COVID-19 symptom. Got a test. $139. It would have cost me $139 for the test without her healthcare coverage, and that's going to get nothing but worse. But we've lost this Supreme Court fight. This round of that war has been lost today. They're going to vote her in tonight.
Yeah,
and she'll be on the court for 40 years.
Yeah, expanding the court is constitutional, so we're just going to do it.
Yep,
and that's it, right? It's like we're not breaking any rules by doing that. We're ignoring a norm. There's no norms anymore. You want that written into law that you can't do it anymore? Take the Senate back after we make Puerto Rico and DC states. You fucking fuck. Anyway. Yes, it is Hale run against Desjardins in Tennessee. So and this got Casey's blood up and her wallet out. She is a Democratic donor, so
right.
She donated as well. So this is a quote from Hale. My opponent pulled a gun on his first wife and fired it, pressured her and her mistress into 3 abortions, and illegally prescribed pills to a patient he was sleeping with. Me? I didn't do any of that. I'll give you healthcare, though. Chip in right away. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
If you pull a gun on your wife and shoot it, you shouldn't be a member of Congress.
Yeah. Like, it shouldn't be allowed to be dog catcher with that on your record,
right? I mean, I just
shouldn't be able to own a firearm, frankly, and that's what the Violence Against Women Act has always guaranteed. But they've done away with that too.
Is it weird that I was like finger blender, and then I was like, wait, I hear it now.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, I want to play a clip, so I'm going to screen share this, and you can make it.
I can make it
do the thing, right? Okay, this is Barack Obama in Miami the other day.
The horns were terrible, but we tried to watch it. It was difficult.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Man, it's not playing.
I believe.
Hang on.
Months into this pandemic, new cases are breaking records. Donald Trump isn't going to suddenly protect all of us. He can't even take the basic steps to protect himself. There's no sense that he's coming up with a new approach, with a new plan. He doesn't even acknowledge that there's a problem. Just this week, he complained that the pandemic was making him go back to work. If he had been working in the first place, we would never have seen the situation get this bad.
That actually wasn't the clip that I was looking for, so I apologize for that. But he also said, Florida man wouldn't even do this stuff. Yeah, that was my favorite. Sorry about the clip there, guys. I messed that up. Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, Doreen, those videos sometimes just don't have high volume. You can't really do anything about it. That one definitely was one of those. Yeah, I mean, the idea that there isn't free ubiquitous testing, I mean, that's just right there. That's a difference that you're going to see. There will be a different, probably massive difference in rate of infection between Canada and the United States. Because there was never any question. Of course you're going to get a fucking free test in Canada. And we're going to do, this is going to sound weird, Greg. We're going to contact trace every positive test. Because that's how you shut this thing down. Everyone has to mandatorily, I don't know if that's a word or not. Mandatorily. Anyway.
No, that's a word.
Yep. All right, good. You got to quarantine. And here it's like, Pence has like 3 people in his office that have, probably been giving shoulder massages. 5? Of course. 5.
Including his body man, which is not good.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
Yeah.
And also it's really weird for like a super uptight Christian conservative to have a body man. I just want to throw that out there. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love that I get that now. It's funny.
Well, yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, but my president said whoever wants a test could get one. Yeah, he also said, "Oh, we're all going to be fine if we get COVID," because I went to Walter Reed and had a team of 28 doctors that are the best in the world working on me.
Pretending he's fucking Superman now. Like, this is the thing. Like, I and the Lincoln Project kind of shows it, I think. But there has to be a subset of the Republican Party that just isn't gonna go to QAnon. Right? I mean,
okay, sure.
Well,
we said the same thing about the Tea Party. We ended up with 50 or 60 of them in Congress.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I'm sorry, but I don't have much confidence that they're not going to go there.
Yeah. No. As far as elected officials, yeah, I'm just like, if our assessment that even 5% of Republicans, well, and I can't remember where we were looking at the data from, but it was basically 3 different states. Every Democrat was voting for Biden, but like 89% of Republicans were voting for Trump, and like 7% of Republicans were voting for. It was a massive disparity. And again, I don't know where that data is coming from, and take this with a massive grain of salt because it's just one poll that they did or what have you. But that just kind of makes sense to me in the current place that we're at.
But the beauty of this is he needs 100% of Republicans,
yes,
and more than half of independents and some Democrats. And he ain't getting that. I don't think he's. I mean, I've personally spoken to 3 Republicans who are not voting for Donald Trump in this election, right? And I don't talk to a lot of Republicans,
right? That's all the Republicans that talk to me,
pretty much.
Well, it makes sense, I suppose.
I mean, that's another argument that I tire of. Oh, we need to be welcoming and kind, and we can still be friends. No, motherfucker, if you're voting for the guy that wants to take away my gay friend's right to be married and healthcare from my poor friends and not expand Medicaid, fuck you. You're obviously living in a bubble of privilege that allows you to turn away from all of that. I posted a thread the other day, and sure enough, somebody I went to high school with, Neil Meany, well-to-do, sells watches for a high-end jewelry chain in West Palm Beach, posted a picture of himself with Donald Trump. The president and I urge you to vote. And I was like, hey, fuck you, Neil Meany, because in your home county, half of the families are under the Alice line. right now. Half. And he's, oh, well, I moved away from there when I, like right after high school. It's like, oh, so I guess fuck us then, right? It was a really annoying conversation because he was trying, well, we'll have to agree to disagree. Okay, what you're disagreeing with is that poverty and wealth inequality are a real thing that is killing people. So, you go ahead and live in your fantasy bubble. Just don't do it on my wall. I can't be nice about that anymore. I tried very hard to stay nice about it, and I just can't. I just cannot do that anymore. I'm going to link to an article from USA Today that young voters are not just settling for Joe Biden, but are actually out actively campaigning for Joe Biden right now. And settle for Biden is how they started, and it's turned into a much bigger thing than that.
Did you hear the kid on PodSafe, the TikTok kid?
I did not. Oh, no, but he's in this article.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. So they got 16-year-old kid.
16-year-old kid from DC, I think. Yeah.
Talks about freaking 4 times faster than I do. And it was like, man, because Lovett asked him, if Trump has anything kind of like this or whatever. And he said, yeah, that once they saw us doing it, they started their own and they kind of tried to make a little TikTok thing. It was a cute attempt or whatever. They have about 10,000 followers, but we have 700,000. So like, oh, bang.
One of the things that I think is encouraging, and like I understand, I'm getting a lot of anxiety messages about but all the Trump people are going to show up on election day. All the old people are going to show up on election day. They're eating into our lead in Florida. Yep. Okay, those things are happening.
Okay, stop.
Yes.
COVID's going to get worse geometrically every single day until November 3rd.
Yeah. I mean, we broke 2 records this week for total number of cases in America.
Yep. And that might not help in Florida, where we kind of had spiked, because I think the spike's taking a little bit longer in Florida. But there are swing states. Wisconsin, as an example, is not really supposed to be a swing state. It's lead Democrat, but still, where every vote that we're banking early right now is a godsend. Right. Because there's a very real probability that people will be starting to flirt with shutdowns again.
Right.
And then who's going to be scared then? And I mean, honestly, Democrats will walk through broken glass to fucking vote right now.
Yep.
And I'm extremely grateful for that.
There's an old saying in strategic planning, particularly military strategic planning. It's don't fight the last war. Okay. And that means that, that's why we lost in Vietnam, because we were trying to fight a World War II style war in a counterinsurgency environment. Right. So that was not the right kind of war. But right now, the traditional wisdom is that old people vote on election day. Elderly people vote on election day. Republicans vote on election day. We've learned a lot in the last 4 years about what traditional wisdom gets us. And I think the ground has changed significantly. And there's data to support this. There's a lot of reasons why somebody over 65 in Florida is not going to go vote on election day. A lot of them have voted early. And yes, a lot of those voters are Republicans, but the Democratic Party has always been better nationally at vote by mail turnout. This is the first election cycle in the history of mail-in voting in Florida where Democrats have voted more than Republicans in mail-in voting. This is the first time we've ever beat them at that. In other places, it's happened before. And the Democratic Party, our friend Kelly Smith and all the other Democratic executive committee members here in Pasco have worked really, really hard at getting people set up for vote by mail. I got in trouble in 2018 for not meeting a target, which was to get people to sign up for vote by mail going door to door, because a guy named Arturo Sanchez, who actually knocked doors for me when I ran for mayor, had done all of West Pasco County, and every door I knocked on, we're already signed up for it. No, we're already signed up for it. No. So that's a thing that's been going on locally in my county for the past 4 or 5 years now. And so I'm not as worried about those old traditional ideas as I was in 2018, as I was in 2016. I'm paying much more attention to them now. And the data indicate, as I said, not everybody that shows up on election day, not every Republican that shows up on election day is going to vote for Trump. There's a lot of pissed off old people that are just disgusted with him now that weren't in 2016 because they weren't paying attention for the same reason that young people didn't go. And we know that young people are going in numbers like they never have before. We know that they're breaking all kind of records for young voter turnout, 18 to 29 nationally. That's happening everywhere. And that's because we've gotten the shit scared out of us. We are paying close attention now in a way we weren't in 2016. We were a little better in 2018, but I don't want to be I'm going to be destroyed if we lose on November 3rd. But that's true whether I'm optimistic or pessimistic. Right. So I'm optimistic with an asterisk, though, because there's the granular data from all these congressional district races that's showing the things are going our way. Right. And so the only people I want to yell at are people who haven't early voted yet. Yesterday, I posted, hey, polls are open until 7:00 today. Go vote today. And 2 people I know were like, holy shit. And they went and voted because they didn't know polls were open until 7:00 on Sunday. Right. So go vote. If you have not voted yet, go vote today. Get it done. Get it done right now. The more we bank before Election Day, the better off we're going to be. The earlier Florida gets called, the less chance of all these things that worry us and scare us and wake us up in the night, the less chance of all those things being true if we all vote right now today. If you've already voted, thank you. Call 2 of your friends who you know have not, and you know who those friends are, and go over to their house and point a sharp stick at them until they fill that fucking ballot out and help them take it to the SOE office and turn it in. Get it done. This is what we can do. There's a lot we can't do. We can wring our hands and flap our arms and scream and yell about the Electoral College. We can't fix that right now. We can fix that later. We're going to have to fix that later. But right now, what you can do is vote and encourage other people to vote. Phone bank. Right now, get out the vote. Ballot chase is what's going on. We know who has and has not turned in their ballots in Florida, and every day they generate new lists of people to call and remind them to take the ballot out of the dusty mail stack in the corner of their desk, fill it out, and turn it in. And our VBM response is really good this year, really good, better than I've ever seen it. But more. We need more. That's end of rant.
So El Paso are asking people to stay home. Hospitals are at capacity, so it's already started. And again, like I think they're gonna, they'll get away with not doing this in more rural areas, right? So that's going to affect larger population centers more. So again, like to everyone, and I don't know that many people in Texas, but to everybody who went out and early voted where they could, for all sorts of good reasons, but this is why.
Dave Myers, pretty excited about Marianne Williamson's chances. Lots of write-ins. Many people are saying, yeah, he trolled us earlier by saying he couldn't vote for either of them, so he voted for Joe Williamson. So you troll. Yeah, there's that. Texas is you're right to focus on Texas. It's a pretty extraordinary story, and that's Beto O'Rourke did a lot of the groundwork there in 2018 , so that's good to see.
And since
right.
He's clearly been working. They had that Monday a week back, like the day that, or 2 weeks, whatever it was, the day that early voting started, or 2 days before that, they had a big, huge phone banking rally and invited Oprah and Andrew Yang and a bunch of other people, and the target was to call 1 million people, and I think they did, and it was all to get people out to vote. And now, they passed early voting totals for 2016 with a week
by
left
a lot,
by a chunk, right?
Yeah, I think nationally we're at something like 137% of the 2016 total, so we're well above the total for 2016,
right?
And that can't be because everybody's excited about Trump, because if the people that are really excited about Trump are only 30% of the electorate.
It's not
35%. It's not like, so it can't be that all of that overage is going to give him a landslide victory. Like, he's living in the bunker under the Reichstag, like in the movie The Bunker, downfall right now. And his generals are all telling him, "Oh no, there's no Russians anywhere near Berlin." That's what's happening right now in the White House, and it makes me very happy.
Thank you, Dave. In all seriousness, I'm voting on my way home from work today. Yeehaw.
But not for Williamson, right?
Well, hopefully.
He's voting for an eventual President Kamala Harris. I guarantee it.
That's fair. You know who else is doing that? Maynard from Tool.
Nice.
Who's on Rogan. I didn't listen to it, and quite frankly, I'm not going to. But the whole thing was, apparently Rogan basically said, Maynard said, he doesn't know a whole lot about either one of them or whatever, but he got COVID, so like he's got an opinion about that.
Right.
And basically said, if we're being honest, there's a really serious likelihood that what I'm actually voting for is a black woman president, and I quite frankly would like to see that. And Rogan literally turned that around and said, yeah, well, we haven't had a Nazi president before, and like we're not doing that. And I'm like, on 3 different levels, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
And then of course Maynard said, well, we kind of do now. You know, Rogan said he can't be a Nazi because his nephew is Jewish.
Right.
And like,
Yeah.
That's really, because here's
how does Joe, you know, and I know
he's
that
dead.
Joe Rogan,
He's dead to me. I can't listen.
Joe Rogan comes off as a smart guy, right?
He
People
did.
think of him
He
as a
used
smart
to.
guy. How
He's
does
an
he not
alt-right
know?
fucking
How
asshole
does
now.
he not know how many of the inner circle of the German Nazi party had all the mental gymnastics and backflips they had to do to keep their own nephews and cousins and nieces and wives out of the gas chambers?
It's
because
worse.
they fucking did.
It's worse. Honestly, look at the Israeli state. They became the abuser.
Yep.
It's not like, and again, I'm talking about specifically the Israeli government. If anyone wants to get really freaking up in arms about it, this is not Jewish people. This is the Israeli government, which only proves that being Jewish does not a non-fascist make you.
Right.
That's a horrible thing.
Stephen Miller is the perfect example of this.
Right.
His own family.
Frickin' Jared Kushner, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
He could give a fuck about literally anyone.
Yeah.
There's people dying in the streets, and they just categorically don't care. It's
New
like, well,
Yorkers are going to die, and that's their problem. That's Jared Kushner. Yeah. The billboard thing is pretty funny, too.
It is.
That they put up that billboard, the Lincoln Project, and Jared and Ivanka threatened to sue them. And the Lincoln Project's response is classic. It's like, all right, Discovery is going to be fun because we're going to get all the emails where you talk about this.
Yeah, Ashley and the Israeli people protest their own government all the time, and right. I mean, it's been, and it's not like they've, as a country, been in a really comfortable spot. I will never say that it's just utterly one-sided. There's no really intense challenges or whatever. But walling 2 million people into a tiny little bit and then slowly but surely eating up all their ground while stopping them from having any kind of progress whatsoever is exactly what the Germans did to you.
Ghettoizing them,
right?
As if they'd never heard of Warsaw. And that's the moment I turned. That's the moment that I decided Israel was not what I thought they were.
Right.
How could you possibly get there if your family members were in the Warsaw Uprising? If people had family members who died in Warsaw, Poland, because they were ghettoized and they rebelled, how do you not see that parallel? It's stunning to me. And funny enough, Max Brooks made an issue of that in World War Z, in his book, in the movie World War Z, that Israel had some success because they were good at walling themselves off. So Max Brooks even brought that up in a zombie context in World War Z, which I thought was pretty prescient of him.
It's very interesting. So Mom brought this up. Casey reiterated. I think actually Casey was the one who told me about this before Greg did. Putin came out and stated they've investigated the Hunter Biden matters and determined he did nothing illegal at all. So basically, like, we see your chances and we're going to pull shoot now.
Yeah.
It's basically
which I had hoped would happen a couple of years ago, but apparently not.
Yeah. Translating Putin from Casey, I know Trump's toast and will lose. So I'm closing out to Biden with remarks about his son, Hunter.
Exactly. What Putin is setting the table for is he's going to have to deal with Joe Biden's administration soon. So he's distancing himself from
It's not like there's
Trump.
any love lost there. Like you think we're just going to be like, everything's fine. You can keep building your nuclear weapons and fucking with our elections. No, not to mention their high-ranking CIA guy recently got hit by one of those weird freaking sonic weapons that are going around that were in Cuba and stuff. So people are getting hit by that all the time. And this is like literally, making it so that people can't sleep and they get nauseous and they lose their memory and there's all sorts of weird shit. So basically makes them, unemployable, takes them out of the race, but also fucks their life up. And that there's a fair amount of that stuff going on, which is crazy. I wanted to just this comment from Dave, because I feel exactly this way. It's gross and weird, and we see it too many times. I've tried to listen to Rogan a few times lately, and I just can't. It's so bad. It's interesting, though, from a psychological perspective, to watch someone turn from a reasoned, thoughtful guy to being gaslit by his guests into full-blown Trump supporter. It's fucked up. And now, I mean, the reason why I kept going back to Rogan, even after like the comments, about women were like a little like, are you really, is this really okay? I get you're a macho guy, but all right. He kept having fucking scientists on and like physicists and like people that were, super fucking smart and chatting with them, for 3 hours at a time or whatever. And now it's just like, like Brett Weinstein, really? Okay.
Well, thinking you're edgy because you're entertaining Nazis is just more Nazi
Right?
collaboration.
That's like right.
I mean, he's no Charles Lindbergh, so Charles Lindbergh was a supporter of the Nazis. No, we should be friends with the Nazis. They're like us.
Yeah. Pasty.
Virginia is talking about the new executive order. Frankly, I have not dug into that, but apparently it makes it more difficult for federal civil employees to speak out when they see something going wrong. That there will be loyalty tests in civil service, which is not awesome.
Yeah, it's not great.
Ash, I saw your link about this, but I haven't watched it yet. I tend to watch John Oliver every week, so I'll have to check that out. Bit from Sunday on asylum. Immigration lawyers are saying I show them my countdown clock till election day, and they show me their scars. Scott Hicks on my friends list is worth a follow. I know Susie McAnally follows him. Several of you do. Scott Hicks is an immigration attorney, and he was actually really gratified to hear what Joe Biden had to say about DACA and the Dreamers and immigration policy. And he is by no means a liberal. Scott is a very conservative guy, and he is outraged at what's happened in the last 4 years. He makes it very clear that all the bullshit about that they didn't separate families, that things haven't gotten worse, is exactly that. It's bullshit. He was never happy with how the Obama administration dealt with immigration. I tend to agree with him about that. Maybe I wasn't vocal enough about that during the 8 years of the Obama administration, but the fact is, they made things very harsh and difficult for people trying to immigrate here under the worst of circumstances. But I'll definitely watch the John Oliver piece, and I think we're headed in the right direction on immigration with the Biden administration. So, what do you got?
Tell me what you think when you read this.
Starting 7 p.m., we're hosting a virtual town hall featuring NAACP, Black Economic Alliance, Vote Black PAC, the National Urban League, and Doc Rivers to talk about the issues facing Black Americans in November.
Like, maybe their guns won't be pointing at us.
I'm not.
I know. I get it, but
I'm dubious.
Me too. There's evidence, though, right?
This is what the Republican Party has always tried to tell us. This is what they've tried to sell us, the narrative that they're pro-Black Americans, that they work for economic power for African Americans while killing them in outrageous numbers, right? So maybe this is the moment when you scrape all that away, and Republicans that really do feel like that's who they want to be can come to the fore and run the Republican Party that way. I would love to see that. If it's
not a lie, right?
My dad was a civil rights Republican, which is anathema today. Nobody in the modern Republican Party thinks that, or at least nobody with any power or control over the party talks that way. But, my dad he didn't have the racial prejudice thing. He probably, I'm sure he had a lot of white privilege. He was raised in a Dixiecrat household by two racist parents. My grandparents were awful racists, awful. And I had to have conversations with them about my children, not saying the N-word in front of my children. That's who my grandparents are. How my dad broke that mold, I don't know, but he did. And I would really love to see the Republican Party come home to equality for African Americans and other people of color. I would love that. I would love to be able to have conversations about something other than good people on both sides. I would like there actually to be good people on both sides that speak out and do things to make things better for African Americans. So I don't know. I want this to be true, but I don't know. Yep. There you go. Casey, Scott Hicks is fascinating to follow. Yes, a Christian immigration attorney who is out in the trenches doing the work. He often posts tales from his clients, the stories of what they're going through. And it was bad before, right? It was a boondoggle bureaucracy before. Now it's an obstructionist bureaucracy. They do everything they can to keep people from completing the process before they're kicked out of the country with no warning. That's a thing that's actually happening in this administration that didn't happen before. So the Republicans need to adjust their platform or they will be dead as a party. Maybe the Lincoln Project is trying to do that. They've so stated that's what they want to do. They want to shear away all this ugliness and start fresh. And I wish them well. Because I'd like us, people talk about, we really don't have a far left in this country. We have 70% of people agreeing with us on immigration policy, on gun control, on women's reproductive rights, right? We have a majority in this country that believes that these things are important, but we keep getting sucked into the mud by a Republican Party that wants to talk about caravans of rapists coming up from Mexico, that wants to talk about things that are not threats. And I would really love them to reset and let's have conversations about those other things. The Overton window has shifted, and they've been left way, way outside it. And I think that having them come along would be cool.
Hope so.
Unlikely, but cool.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking for evidence of what it might look like, right? And
Right.
Nicole Wallace is a data point, and I think a strong contender for, like what kind of fights are we going to have, then, right? So it might be around healthcare, it might be around whatever, but at least presumably they would be cogent. Or how quickly will they fall back into, well, the lowest common denominator is what I have as an asset to win me this political argument, so I'm just going to make a deal with the devil, because they will, right? Like that's like Rio in a nutshell. Will do that at any moment, and I proved it to him 100 times. So,
Right.
like, getting all up in arms about Trump being a fucking racist piece of shit, I mean, it's your fault. You guys did it. You made this guy, right? Like, over and over and over again for decades and decades and decades since the advent of the Southern strategy, you did this, and you were cool with it. Oh, now, by the way, I can't remember the lady's name, but she basically came out. She was helping Pence with the COVID thing. And then came out and said it was all fucking dog shit. She's been on all the news shows.
Yes, Olivia, I can't remember.
Something. Yes. Anyway, so Lovett had them on PodSave. Or no, Love It or Leave It. And basically ripped their shreds. Oh, that was when you left? Right? Good people on both sides. Totally cool, right? And like literally and politely, because, he's a guest. But just basically held her feet to the fire, and it was appropriate, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, Casey just posted this. Harry Litman, LA Times Legal. This is a quote. "We've made an important contribution to the future of this country," McConnell said just after the vote. "A lot of what we've done over the last 4 years will be undone sooner or later by the next election, but they won't be able to do anything about this for a long time to come."
Yeah, fuck you. Right? I mean, here's the thing. We expand the court. And this is the thing. Like, even if Sue's right and they just expand it right after us, so what? We'll do it right back, because the court is broken.
Or we do what they did, which is we expand the court and then change the Constitution to disallow it.
Right, exactly.
Which is exactly what they would do if they could.
That's a good point. And so any norm that serves us, let's codify it into law and then pass it through a Supreme Court that we just packed. And they'll whine and they'll scream and they'll yell it's unconstitutional, and we'll just be like, checks watch, McConnell's a piece of shit. We don't care anymore, right? Is it constitutional? Yes, we do it. Period.
Right. And we know that this country is moving left. The Overton window is shifting left. Like I said, we have broad agreement on huge issues like global climate change, like gun control, like women's rights to make their own healthcare decisions. And we have a majority, a vast growing majority on all of those issues. So we just marginalize the shit out of them.
Oh, no.
We just drag them along.
I'm sorry.
What's that? It kind of sounds that way, Donna.
Sorry, buddy. Only when speaking to or about Republicans. Little 3-year-old dude.
Yeah, Jenny, anyone waiting for him to just die? Hashtag McConnell's hands.
No.
His human suit is rotting. That's the same thing that happened to Edgar in Men in Black.
It's fine. He got
That's what's
close to
happening
my
there.
phone for a minute. Anyway, apologies. Oh no, Dax is gonna be a sailor. Yeah.
Yeah, we try to get them to say cool stuff like 2 + 2 is 4, and I love mommy and daddy. But what they hear is douchebag.
Right.
Douchebag.
The electoral garbage is the electoral college is garbage. Just to teach them that one.
Right.
Anyway, Shiza.
Destroy the patriarchy. No, they won't say that. But penis. Yeah, they're all over.
Down with the man. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Whew.
All right. Well, it's like 11 o'clock. It's not like 11 o'clock. It is actually 11 o'clock. So that's good. What else? Is there anything? I feel like there's something else I forgot to mention today. Oh, Jessica Stempian, who is running for county commission in Pasco County against Catherine Starkey, is going to be our guest for a half hour on Friday. It's kind of late in the day. I'm sure many of you have already voted for her because Catherine Starkey is not our friend, not working for the things that you and I are working for. Calls the police on the homeless when she sees them in her neighborhood. That's Catherine Starkey, and we're going to have her opponent on Friday morning. We're trying to get a couple of other people from local races to come join us, but it's getting late, right? We're right up against it now, and we want to give them as much ammunition as we can. So, with that said, I think we're ready to rock this out, huh?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I started playing Tropico last night.
Weird.
Which is weird. You're the dictator of a small tropical island, and you have to.
I always get it suggested because of my obsession with Civ, but I've never played it.
Yeah, it's a little clunkier. It's not as easy an interface as Civ, but yeah, I'm gonna play that a little bit today.
See, I saw this headline, but I did not see the George Conway thing. News: Jared Kushner says black people must want to be successful in order for his father-in-law's policies to help them. Of course, yeah. Kushner was born into wealth. I saw one thing that said he was born on third base. He wasn't born on third base. He was born literally 1 inch away from home. And somebody pushed him over the second that he was born. Anyway, George Conway said, "I think he really wants another billboard."
Yeah. Hey, Fred. Fred's got a note in here. Check out the free version of our first radio theater production podcast tonight. It's the Stargazer Radio Theater, and I got an invite to join them. Apparently, I have a speaking role in their upcoming production.
Nice.
So I'm pretty excited about that. I've been dying to do radio theater for years, so I'm pretty excited about that. Also, Saturday, my first internet radio hour, Americana Radio Hour. It's called String Theory. Will be debuting. I'll be putting up links about that. If you want to learn a little bit more about the genre and why I love it so much, I would love for you to become a listener of Sulphur Springs Community Radio on the internet. Audio quality is like radio. It's not terrific, but it's going to be a good show, and I put a lot of thought into it, so I'm anxious to do that. Donna's working. She gets to yell at people.
Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, she's not laugh track on her job. She is
serious,
hard ass track. Yeah. All right, so that's going to do it for us today. I'm the astronomer. I'm going to play an astronomer, Corey.
That checks out. I like
which
it.
Is
I'm cool with
cool. I'm glad I fell into Fred's orbit. Yeah.
I'm